Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Richards, council members. Appreciate the opportunity. Got a lot of education this afternoon on bees, so hopefully I can provide you maybe a small portion of information on water systems in Pohoa and Kapoho areas. So anyway, I got the real brainchild at the department with me. This is my right and left hand, Kavika Uehara, our deputy, and Kurt Inaba, our engineering division head. Again, I'm Keith Okamoto, manager, chief engineer for the Department of Water Supply. Alrighty, so, okay, here we go. Okay, so basically this is a short presentation on what the status of the water supply infrastructure is in the lava affected area in the lower East Rift zone. So here's a map. Basically it shows the inundated areas, and if you can kind of see, hopefully this works. This is 132. This is going down Pohoiki Road. And the gray dash lines, do you guys have the presentation in front of you? Okay, so the gray dash line shows the water system infrastructure that was rendered unusable because of the lava flow. This area is served by what we call our Pohoa water system, which has 2 wells, several tanks. I think about, how many miles of pipe, Kurt? About 43 miles of pipe, of which during this event we've lost the use of approximately 14 and a half miles of pipe, 2 tanks, numerous services and whatnot. We did submit for FEMA funding, public assistance. They have this 428 alternative procedures, which I guess we were advised to go down this path. And basically our understanding, and we submitted our application back in October last year, and we're still waiting for FEMA's response. And our understanding of this process is that it can be used in other areas, the caveat being that whatever they approve gets capped. So it's not like you can go in and make adjustments, later down the road. So the idea is you go in, give them your best estimate on the, I guess, the cost of the facilities that were impacted, and that the funds can be used in other areas, but it's not going to be negotiable after they settle on an amount. So what we're kind of doing right now, we're kind of in a holding pattern. We're involved with the county's process on the recovery effort, and we kind of need to see what the results of that effort is going to be, to say, where are we going to focus the effort for this recovery before we really start to make commitments for funding infrastructure in other areas. Because overall we want to be consistent with what the county's plans are overall, which is a process within itself. So here's some details on the impacted infrastructure that we have there. The 2 top items are tanks, water storage tanks. They are still standing, but basically unusable because they're isolated by the lava. And for the council's information, basically, people might wonder, I thought your pipes are underground, so they should be okay, right? The gaskets can only accommodate the temperatures maybe up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And our understanding is lava's a bit hotter than that. So, yeah, the gaskets, and we've run into this situation back in Kalapana as well. We know that the gaskets get compromised and there's serious leakage. And basically, you can't operate a water system under those conditions. So these are the details on what went into our estimate that went into FEMA. Again, if approved, we'd be eligible for 75%, and we'd have to come up with the remainder. Okay, so bottom line, our current situation, at this time, we have no plans to restore water service to the Kapoho, Pohoiki areas. And a couple of the reasons why. Right now, it's cost prohibitive. We understand that a temporary road is being built, that's obtaining federal funds. From a water system perspective, we can't really install a temporary water system. Basically, it'll be installed like how it's normally required by our standards with concrete storage tanks, ductile iron pipe, copper service laterals, and whatnot. And our understanding from some of the discussions we've had with Public Works in their work with this temporary road is that it's still hot out there. Some temperatures in excess of 600 degrees Fahrenheit. So, well, that, again, our water infrastructure would not survive those kind of conditions anyway. Even if it did, we'd be piping boiling water, and that really doesn't work also. So the other concern, too, is that our understanding based on information we got from HVO and their estimated thickness of the lava, in certain areas, it's increased the terrain by approximately 100 feet. So that would affect our hydraulics, and just replacing what was put there may not actually work anymore, because we might have peaks and valleys that you'd have to put in additional tanks or boosters or PRV stations that may not have been needed previously. So, but those are engineering details that could probably be worked out. We're not shutting the door at all at this point. We're just saying at this time, we don't have immediate plans to restore infrastructure in the area. Other concerns when you install infrastructure without use is water quality. The water actually, if it sits in a pipe without being consumed, it actually does get stagnant. And aesthetics become an issue, and perhaps even compliance with Safe Drinking Water Act requirements. Okay, so the private well was mentioned. Again, it was just a single point. But those discussions happened because of the county's interest in opening Isaac Holly Beach Park and providing water for the bathroom facilities over there. So we're able to work with an individual who owns a property about 1.5 miles Mauka of Isaac Holly Beach Park. And initially, the water quality was potable. I think he was using it for his personal needs. And then actually he notified us, that he noticed a significant change in his water quality. And then so we went out and retested. Basically, the water quality deteriorated to the point where it won't be drinkable, and it would actually be corrosive to plumbing and fixtures and whatnot due to the well, I'll show you some of the numbers. So here's a map of where the property is that the private well is located.
Hang on a second there,
Sorry,
Keith.
I heard you say earlier, just go ahead, jump in,
Okay,
right?
sure.
So I just kind of want to walk back to the other slide.
Okay.
And we talked about potable or non-potable water. And then you mentioned that, the non-potable use is corrosive. But I also heard some of the testimony as it relates to farming. So just to put it on the table, potable water for drinking. Can we use non-potable water for irrigation for agriculture?
I guess from our perspective, it's a definite maybe. No. See, we're not farmers, so we don't know what kind of water quality is needed for farming. We understand that certain plants or grasses can handle higher salt content than would be acceptable for us to drink, like seashore parsipalum and things like that. Other agricultural needs, such as, fruit crops or flowers or things like that, I'm not sure what those plants would be tolerant of.
And then I'm asking this question because I know we're doing it over in Kailapa where they don't have the best water quality, but they blend some of the water quality with more potable water, and they don't use it for drinking, but they use it for irrigation purposes. Is there an option to take maybe some of this non-potable water and blend it so at least we would have irrigation water for farming? Is that a possibility?
Possible, likely would be difficult just based on the fact to blend would mean we have a transmission or distribution system to connect to. And right now our system is basically cut off by the inundated areas. So as you can see from this, yeah, I don't know if you can see the laser pointer, but this is the trunk line by my mile marker 2 coming from Pohoa that feeds this Makai area. So basically, we need to find a connection point to get back to our water line up in this area, where I think was kind of known as the triangle. So that would be the challenge, to blend. Possible, yeah, but right now probably not feasible because of the temperatures. Yeah. So here's some of the private wells water quality parameters that we tested for. And if you look to the right column is one of our Pohoa wells, which is drinking water quality well. So you can kind of see the difference in the values. Order of magnitude difference, from a couple times higher to over 1,000 times higher. And basically what this means, if you look at the bottom, is a general term called TDS, or total dissolved solids. 12,000 parts per million of total dissolved solids pretty much characterizes that as brackish water. And if you look, our Pohoa wells is down in 140 parts per million range. So again, that's pretty much making it unsuitable for drinking or human consumption. It may even, again, would probably need to talk to the farmers. Is that even okay for farming? I'm not sure. And our understanding too is if you look at, these are different compounds that kind of indicate salt content. It could be classified as, I have to do some research too, because I'm not a chemist either. I'm just a civil engineer. Yeah, just. But so we're pretty simple folk. Our stuff don't move. If you install our stuff and it moves, you become a mechanical engineer. So our stuff not supposed to move. And anyway, so although water does move, yeah, but the pipes don't. So anyway, yeah, so these are inorganic salts, and it kind of gives you an indication that you're looking at more salt water coming out of this well, or more seawater, ocean water, because basically our assumption is that's really the only source of salt water, and that's what seems to be happening. So I think you heard one of the testimonies say one hypothesis is that this rift zone and all the fissures that came up created a dike system that's basically preventing the recharge, the freshwater recharge from Mauka to feed this lower area. And even without that fissure system, going back to, I think, the first map, we used to have a well in Green Lake. I got my Vanna White over there. Brains and looks. So we stopped using that a while ago because it actually was getting salty. And if you guys kind of understand basic hydrogeology, basal lens is fresh water floating on salt water. As you get closer to the shoreline, that basal lens becomes really thin. So it doesn't take much to get into that transition zone of fresh water and salt water. It's not a hard, fast line. There's a blended zone. So we're already seeing impact. So, if we were to take a wild guess, we're thinking even without the dike system, wells in the lower elevation areas would probably see the same types of results. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I know there's been talk about how about we drill, more wells.
Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And I just want to mahalo you guys because I wanted to create a conversation space. There's lots of questions. I get a lot of inquiries, calls, emails from constituents. And so I wanted to make sure that you had the ability to put out the information, the best available information to date out into the public sphere. So now that we're on the subject of the testing of that one private well, does water supply have plans for additional testing? Are you going to be working with other agencies to test water quality in the area? Is that a requirement of your 428 submittal?
So no, it's not a requirement of our 428 submittal. If it's prudent and makes sense to do, we'll do it. You know, if we can continue to work with this private well owner and continue to test his well, because that's a source that, you know, can pump water out of the ground. In other areas, you know, if you don't have a hole in the ground with something to pump it out of the ground, then you'd have to basically create one. We're not at that point where we're going to make that investment at this time. We did attend a meeting that was held by HVO. It sounds like they do have some maybe other mechanisms to see if there is fresh water in the area. And, you know, we'd like to participate in that effort and see what comes out of that. And if it does appear from those efforts that there seems to be a pocket of fresh water, then maybe we can make that investment, drill another hole. Normally when we drill holes, it's really to eventually turn it into a production well. So we don't normally just drill holes for monitoring. That's something we'd need to probably discuss internally, probably approach our board to see if we can carve out some funds for that if it gets to that point. But yeah, we're always looking, you know, to see if there's a possibility, we'll go participate.
Couple other questions. Auntie Nancy brought up the Kipuka next to PGV. Any thought about water meter for that particular area and how we could potentially get that done? Is that something you might be able to explore?
Yeah, we can take a look. So again, the challenge is the lava still being hot. So what we've done with PGV is, if you notice at the triangle area where our water line used to kind of go down a little bit over a mile, down 132. But when the lava crossed, we cut and plugged just Mauka of that, so we're able to still keep a short segment live, and we're able to provide a new water meter to PGB from that short segment. So that's another possibility we can do for anybody in the area, is we can drop a meter where the water main is, and then at that point, though, it's kind of up to them how they route their line to their property and how they protect it or maintain it in the conditions that are out there right now. Yeah, so it's a possibility. Yeah.
Thank you. We like knowing what our options are. You know that the county opened Pohoiki, Aizakale Beach Park, and just wondering what your thoughts and recommendations are for any potential for temporary water solutions for the area. I know catchment was brought up, but we still need electricity to distribute the water through the existing infrastructure. So any comments about that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know we've been in discussions with PNR, and they've we made them aware of the situation on the private well water conditions, and that we wouldn't advise them to use water from that well to feed even the toilets in the bathrooms over there, just because it would just cause the copper to corrode and whatnot. So yeah, that's another tough one. You know, can go back old school like how we used to when we used to go surf. You gotta bring your own water. Bring your own water. You know, toilets. I understand there's porta potties out there. I cannot. You know, we try to rack our brains around that matter. You know, trying to assist PNR. We really couldn't come up with something that's feasible for a long-term permanent solution at this point. Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful. I mean, this was a very sobering presentation, but it's good to know that you're not shutting the door completely on water restoration for the area. It seems to me that we're in a holding pattern, waiting for the risk assessment, for the comprehensive plan, for that data to come in to really help your long-term decisions and next steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So, Keith, you Pau presentation?
I think probably enough.
Okay.
I just had this last slide, but basically it sums up already what we've kind of said, I think. Yeah. And no, we're not going to bottle water.